everyday thing. It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing when you let your nuts hang.
Spain is a wasted cause. We don't want to do any trade business with Spain anymore, by the way. I'd like you to cut it off. Spain is a terrible partner in NATO. They don't participate. They don't pay. I don't want anything to do with Spain. They're hopeless. Bad people, because, you know, they have everybody else going and paying and working. In particular, Spain. There are a couple of others, but in particular, Spain.
So Spain wins their World Cup and Donald Trump goes on an attack on Spain. That's crazy.
The day when the American president called everyone in Spain, quote, bad people. Hi again, everyone. It's now 5 o'clock in the East. In Donald Trump's world, one day you're calling an entire nation, an American ally, hopeless and full of, quote, bad people. And the next you're trying to squeeze into their spotlight as they celebrate the biggest prize in sports, winning the World Cup. At yesterday's final match, just 11 days after Donald Trump said those hideous things about Spain at NATO that do not represent the views of most Americans, Trump represented America again, this time to present them, the winning Spanish team, with the World Cup trophy. He shook some players' hands and then awkwardly refused to leave their stage. FIFA president Gianni Infantino had to rush over to him and push him off the stage, literally and physically, to let the Spanish team have their moment. Minutes earlier, Trump and Infantino had walked out to the field to a sustained chorus of boos, according to the White House press pool reporters, which described the ambient crowd noise level at 78 decibels, getting up to 84 with all the booing. The entire ordeal was classic Donald.
So we talked about the booing yesterday. I didn't really hear the booing, I guess. If they say it happened, it happened. Nobody showed a real, a great clip of people booing. You just heard one person booing, but like, if people boo in a crowd, you will hear overwhelming boo. Like, it's just like, you're boo. Like when Lou Dort, shout out to Lou Dort. Lou Dort was just traded from the Oklahoma City Thunder to Atlanta, and I would have liked to keep him just, because he had a great story. He came from the G League in Oklahoma City to actually play on the main squad, end up starting, and helped us win a championship. So shout out to Lou Dort. But whenever Lou gets in the game where he shoots a three, they say Lou, and so it sounds like boo. And my daughter was like, "Why are they booing him?" I said, "No, they're saying Lou. They're saying Lou." So you can hear it just sounds overwhelming, and I didn't hear that in that stadium. So, but they say he got booed. He got booed.
Donald Trump, an attempt to hog the spotlight at an event he had already unsuccessfully and unnecessarily inserted himself into. A few weeks prior, Trump called Infantino after a player on the U.S. team, Flo Balogun, received a red card and a one-game suspension, asking FIFA to review it. Trump said he didn't tell Infantino what to do, but FIFA did later rescind the suspension for the player. Balogun acknowledged after the United States defeat that the, quote, outside noise over the reversal made the next match, quote, difficult. So yesterday's moment on the World Cup stage was also telling for what it showed about the people around Donald Trump, those who appease him. We've seen time and time and time again that anyone and any institution that bends the knee to Donald Trump ends up with a good amount of egg on their face. It's just a matter of time. The Washington Post writes about Trump and Infantino this way, quote, their relationship had been conspicuous for years. Infantino had repeatedly appeared with Trump. FIFA rented office space in Trump Tower, and Trump has kept a model of the World Cup trophy near the Resolute desk. The World Cup draw was moved to Washington at Trump's urging, bringing one of the tournament's signature pre-event ceremonies to the Kennedy Center. At that event, Infantino presented Donald Trump with FIFA's inaugural Peace Prize, an honor with a murky selection process that was derided by critics and human rights activists as another sign of FIFA's willingness to flatter the American president, whose government it needed as a partner. And what did the FIFA president end up with in return? Having to literally shoo a man off the stage at an event that he tried to make all about himself. Donald Trump's embarrassment of the United States of America on the World Cup stage is where we begin the hour with Pulitzer Prize-winning host of the podcast, Pablo Torre Finds Out.
Yeah, I don't know if it was embarrassment, but it was pretty awkward. Like, it should have been something really quick. But you know, Trump, shit, it's all about him. So at the end of the day, I think it's just really nitpicking. He is 80 years old. He don't know if he coming or going. Like, literally, they had to take baby steps to help him get off the stage. Like, it took him 30 minutes to walk across the stage because, like, his body is literally failing in front of us. So, you know, it's not like he was in a rush. Like, he was trying to, you know how your grandpa walk across the living room and you sit there watching a game and he's just moseying on, and he stop and laugh and tell a corny fucking joke, and you be like, all right, grandpa, move out the way. Like, and he's still and moving on to go to the refrigerator, and then you look up 10 minutes later, he finally made it to the fridge. That's Trump. Like, it just took him all day to walk across that big ass stage. That's all.
Contributor Pablo Torre, also joining us, national sports columnist, professor of journalism at the University of Maryland. Kevin Blackistone is here. Pablo, since you and I talked a little bit about the World Cup, tell me your thoughts. What went through your head as you watched this yesterday?
Yeah, I watched this live and replayed it a number of times, I will admit, wondering if this was perhaps worthy of a generous interpretation, and that generosity would have led to some, I think, accusation of outright senility. This, if this is innocent, is something that you would have made fun of, Mr. President, with Joe Biden, right? You don't know where you are. You're lost somehow on the most grand stage on the planet. That's the generous read. The less generous read is, I think, probably, for better and for worse, more appropriate, which is this is somebody who did not care about whose moment this was. And the through line in Donald Trump, Nicole, is that it's always his moment. And so, do you like this, soccer? Do you like what the American experience has been when it came to the literal moment at which the gold trophy is lifted? Because, of course, all gold trophies belong to Donald Trump.
Kevin, your thoughts as you watched this go down yesterday?
Well, oddly, I thought it was befitting, right? It bookended this particular World Cup. It started with Donald Trump's embarrassments and with Gianni Infantino's embarrassments. As I said, corruption respects corruption, and it did. And so this World Cup, all in the middle, there were question marks about things that were going on. You mentioned Balogun getting the red card. Donald Trump made a call to Infantino, and miraculously the red card goes away. England suffered the same with a defender. They didn't get to make a phone call, and their red card stayed intact. We've talked about what happened to so many of the people that wanted to come here to either work for FIFA as a referee, who got turned away because of his nationality, the great fan for the Congo, who wasn't allowed to come here and do his thing in the stands because this country wouldn't honor a visa for him, the fans that could no longer afford to go to a World Cup in this country. And then you see the end where Donald Trump makes a mockery out of what should have been a great moment for Spain and a great moment for the people who love this particular game. The beautiful game was turned into an ugly game.
You know, Pablo, it's not something we can measure for, but Spain is a proud country. They love competition and sports. And 11 days ago, Trump called all the Spanish people, quote, bad people. What sort of intangible impact does an attack from an American president have on a country and how their sort of proudest sports team performs on the world stage?
Yeah, I just think it's you know, they call it in baseball, as you know, Nicole, they call it Bush League. It feels like minor league stuff, you know, it makes us look small. And I want to point this out because there was another piece of writing that I wanted to cite here, because it was in The Guardian over the last several days that the vice president of U.S. Soccer put a name to it that I think I should just quote, because you raised the question that he provides an answer to. And he says, while the World Cup will go down as a massive commercial success, no amount of revenue will ever erase the moral stain of blessing Trump's wars in the name of soccer. This was the vice president of U.S. Soccer writing in The Guardian, someone who has been fed up watching the commandeering of his sport and the U.S. national team program by a guy who does not actually care about the game. And so what does it mean for Spain to have been insulted on the world stage and then to be now around this, again, generously senile old man who is trying to be in literally the team photo? I think it's just embarrassing for us. You know, and that's what U.S. Soccer's vice president there was basically referring to in so many words.
Yeah, I'm gonna just say this is, it's a slow day in news. Basically, it's a slow day in news where you have to talk about Trump's effect on soccer and what it really means. Yes, it was a bozo move, but I mean, we know he doesn't like sports. It's like in watching NFL, the NFL changed the rule to how they do kickoffs. Donald Trump says, I don't like the way they do the new kickoffs. We might have to change it back. He's been on the commissioner to change the kickoff rule back, but because I don't think they like each other. I don't think Roger Goodell and Trump have a really good relationship. I think it's more business than personal. And Donald Trump has been very critical of the NFL over the past few years, since even when it was from Colin Kaepernick taking a knee to the kickoff style. But the kickoff style is meant to have less injuries on the field, which kickoffs is one of the main places where people get injured in football, is on the kickoff, because there's so many blind hits, there's so many people going full speed at each other, and it's just dangerous. But again, that's what made the game fun for so long. But now, with millions on the line, people want to secure their investments. So, but Trump doesn't really care about that. He doesn't care about soccer. He doesn't care about the NBA. He doesn't care about hockey. He doesn't. I think the Knicks decided that they weren't going to go to the White House, and Donald Trump doesn't care. He doesn't care. The fact, and that's part of why they say he's so divisive, is because, you know, for people not to want to show up to the White House after winning a national championship, that's a thing. But to be so divisive that people are refusing to go, and I think over the years, you know, there have been people who opted out of going to the White House based on their belief system of politics or their political beliefs. So, but it would be like one or two players. But now seeing entire teams refusing to go, it's a telltale of how people actually think about him, and that's why Trump doesn't care. That's why Trump is so critical of a lot of these sports, the leaders in the sports industry, because they let these players have a voices, in which they should. Like, they're very influential in the world. So, and Donald Trump don't like that. So there you have it. Let me know what y'all think about that in the comment section.